They promise to teach you the secrets of wealth. They tell you how to budget, save, and invest your way to financial freedom. But here's the million-dollar question. Do these financial gurus actually get rich by following their own advice? Spoiler alert, they didn't. Act 1, The Great Deception. Welcome to the world of financial education, a $15 billion industry built on a fundamental irony. The biggest names in personal finance, from Dave Ramsey to Robert Kiyosaki, built their fortunes not by penny pinching or slow wealth building, but by selling advice to millions of people, advice they themselves never actually followed to get rich. Let's start with the king of debt-free living himself, Dave Ramsey. At 26, Ramsey had amassed a $4 million real estate portfolio and was earning $250,000 a year. But his wealth was entirely built on debt, the very thing he now rails against daily. When the banks called in their loans during a real estate downturn, Ramsey had 90 days to repay millions and ended up filing for bankruptcy at age 28 in 1988. Here's the kicker. Ramsey's current $200 million net worth comes primarily from his business empire, Ramsey Solutions, which generates $15 million annually from selling financial education, not from following his baby steps, not from his debt snowball method, from building a media and education business that teaches others what not to do. But Ramsey isn't alone in this paradox. Take Suze Orman, the woman who tells you to skip the lattes and cut up your credit cards. Orman's fortune began when she was working as a waitress in Berkeley, California, making $400 a month. Customers at the Buttercup Cafe lent her $50,000 to open a restaurant, which she promptly lost when a Merrill Lynch broker put her money into high-risk options trading. But here's where the story gets interesting. Instead of following conservative financial advice, Orman sued Merrill Lynch while simultaneously working for them as a broker. She won the settlement, got her money back plus interest, and became one of their top producers. Her wealth built on commissions, book sales, TV contracts, and speaking fees, not on the conservative, low-risk investments she recommends to her audience. Act 2, The Real Estate Royalty. Now, let's talk about Robert Kiyosaki, the man who convinced a generation that your house is not an asset through his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Kiyosaki claims his rich dad taught him to build wealth through real estate and business ownership. But journalists discovered that his rich dad was likely a composite character. When pressed about it in a 2002 Smart Money magazine interview, Kiyosaki replied, "Why don't you treat rich dad like Harry Potter?" The truth about Kiyosaki's wealth is far more complex. Yes, he invested in real estate starting with a $65,000 house that netted him $40 a month. But his real fortune came from creating the cash flow board game in 1996 and founding the Rich Dad Company in 1997. The book itself, he admitted, was essentially an advertisement for his higher-priced seminars. And here's a detail that might shock you. In 2012, Kiyosaki's company, Rich Global LLC, filed for bankruptcy after losing a $24 million royalties dispute. The man, teaching others to build assets and avoid liabilities, couldn't keep his own company solvent. As of January 2024, Kiyosaki stated he was more than $1 billion in debt, though he claims this is good debt used for investments. Then there's Grant Cardone, the real estate mogul who manages over $5 billion in assets and preaches that cash is trash. Cardone started as a car salesman with a drug addiction. He went to rehab, got clean, and became a millionaire within 5 years. But how? His first real estate investment was a disaster, a single-family house in Houston where the tenants moved out after 5 months, leaving him responsible for payments he couldn't afford. He learned quickly, never depend on one tenant for income. But Cardone's billions didn't come from real estate appreciation alone. He raises money for his deals from his social media fans and those who pay thousands for his training sessions, parlaying his fame into credibility. Here's what's fascinating. Cardone tells people never to buy a house to live in and never to invest in single-family rentals, yet his first investment was exactly that. His current wealth strategy? Leverage debt to buy multifamily properties and sell syndicated investments to others. Essentially, using other people's money to build his empire. Act 3, The New Generation. The newer generation of financial gurus follows a different playbook, but the core contradiction remains. Take Ramit Sethi, the author of I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Sethi co-founded PB Works in 2005 and started his financial blog while studying technology and psychology at Stanford. His approach seems more honest. He advocates spending on what you love while automating the boring stuff. But here's the thing. Sethi published his first book when he was around 27 years old, and his current wealth comes primarily from his business programs like Earnable, which has helped over 30,000 people start businesses, and his courses on psychology and success. His rich life wasn't built through slow, steady investing. It was built by creating and selling educational products. Then there's Tiffany, the budgetnista at Liche, who might be the most transparent about her journey. After losing her job as a preschool teacher during the 2008 recession and finding herself $300,000 in debt, she moved back in with her parents and started helping her friends with their finances for free. Her business partner, Jubril Agoro, helped her understand that money is not hard to make and taught her marketing strategies that transformed her grassroots financial coaching into a $10 million annual business. When she launched her Live Richer Academy online, she earned almost the equivalent of her annual teacher salary in the first 30 minutes. Alice's wealth didn't come from budgeting or cutting expenses. It came from building a financial education empire that has helped over 2 million women save $350 million and pay off $200 million in debt. Act 4, the uncomfortable truth. So what's really happening here? Are these people frauds? No, not exactly. They're entrepreneurs who discovered something profound. There's more money in teaching people about money than in actually following traditional financial advice. Think about it this way. If you save $500 a month and invest in index funds earning 8% annually, you'll have about $1.4 million after 30 years. Not bad. But if you teach 10,000 people to do the same thing and charge them $300 each, you've made $3 million in a matter of months, not decades. This creates what we might call the financial guru paradox. The most effective way to get rich in the personal finance space is to build a business around teaching others to get rich slowly. As Robert Kiyosaki himself admitted, his books were advertisements for his higher-priced seminars. Dave Ramsey tells people to avoid debt at all costs, but he owns a portfolio of rental properties and advocates using good debt for real estate investments when speaking to more sophisticated audiences. Suze Orman preaches conservative investing, but her own wealth came from high-commission sales, risky litigation, and building a media brand. Grant Cardone says cash is trash and promotes heavy leveraging, which is essentially the opposite of every other guru's advice. Yet, they're all wealthy. Why? Because they found different paths to the same destination, building scalable businesses. Act 5, the business behind the brand. Let's peek behind the curtain at how this industry really works. Financial gurus operate what's known as a funnel business model. Free content gets people interested. Low-cost books build trust, higher-priced courses generate serious revenue, and premium coaching or masterminds create the real wealth. Dave Ramsey's empire includes Financial Peace University courses, endorsed by local providers for insurance and real estate, a radio show with massive advertising revenue, and speaking fees that reach 6 figures per event. His company employs his 3 children, making it a true family financial dynasty. Suze Orman has created numerous products: FICO kits, will and trust kits, insurance kits, identity theft kits, all sold in conjunction with her books and media appearances. She's even ventured into fintech, co-founding SecureSave in 2020, a company focused on changing savings rates by providing employer-matched emergency savings plans. Grant Cardone's businesses include sales training, an online university, health and wellness companies, and even a film studio producing reality shows starring himself. He's essentially turned himself into a personal brand that sells everything from real estate investments to motivational content. Act 6, the psychology of success. But here's what makes the story really fascinating. These gurus didn't just get lucky, they identified a massive market need and solved it, even if their solutions don't match their personal wealth building strategies. Most people struggle with money because of psychology, not mathematics. Ramsey talks about the invisible script, the unconscious beliefs about money we inherit from our parents and society. These gurus understood that people don't just want financial advice, they want financial permission, structure, and community. Dave Ramsey's baby steps aren't mathematically optimal. Paying off low-interest debt before investing loses money in the long run, but they work psychologically. People need quick wins and clear milestones. His debt snowball method builds momentum by tackling small debts first, regardless of interest rates. Suze Orman's aggressive stance on financial security resonates with people who've been burned by risk. Her advice, to have 8 months of expenses saved, isn't mathematically optimal either, but it provides emotional security that's worth more than extra investment returns to many people. Act 7, the contradictions exposed. The contradictions go deeper than just business models. Let's examine some specific examples. Dave Ramsey preaches debt-free living but built his first fortune using massive leverage. He borrowed up to his eyeballs to finance his real estate empire before his bankruptcy. Today, he likely uses business debt and mortgages on his rental properties, despite telling his audience that debt is dumb. Robert Kiyosaki advocates buying assets over getting education. Yet, he attended the prestigious Kings Point Merchant Marine Academy and served in the military. He criticizes traditional jobs while his wealth came from creating educational products, essentially a traditional business. Grant Cardone claims real estate is the path to wealth, but admits he made more money on his first apartment complex detail than he had in 8 years of international consulting. Yet his speaking fees and course sales likely exceed his real estate profits. Suze Orman advocates conservative investing and avoiding risk, but she sued her employer while still working for them. One of the riskiest career moves I've ever seen. Her wealth came from high-commission sales and building a personal brand, not from low-cost index funds, she recommends. Act 8, the modern influencer model. Today's financial influencers have refined this model even further. Social media allows for direct audience building without traditional media gatekeepers. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok have created a new generation of financial personalities who can monetize their advice instantly. Tiffany Aliche built her early following by friending Facebook strangers who looked like they were about some business, then snooping through their friends list for her next potential networking target. A guerrilla marketing strategy that worked because it was authentic and targeted. The formula is now well established. 1. Share your financial transformation story. 2. Provide valuable free content. 3. Build a community around shared financial goals. 4. Sell courses, coaching, and related products. And 5. Leverage your audience to launch higher value businesses. The irony is that this model actually works better than traditional financial advice for building wealth quickly. Creating content, building an audience, and selling educational products can generate more money in months and decades of traditional investing. Act 9. The ethics question. This raises an uncomfortable ethical question. Is it wrong to get rich by teaching others to get rich slowly? The financial gurus would argue no, they're providing valuable financial education and inspiration. Their students do achieve financial success, just not through the same path their teachers took. Tiffany Aliche's movement has helped over 2 million women save $350 million and pay off $200 million in debt. Dave Ramsey's program has helped millions get out of debt and build emergency funds. These are real, measurable results. But critics argue that the gurus are selling false hope. John T. Reed, a real estate advisor, says, Rich Dad, Poor Dad contains much wrong advice, much bad advice, some dangerous advice, and virtually no good advice. Financial experts criticize Ramsey's advice as mathematically suboptimal. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. The gurus provide value through education, motivation, and community. They also benefit from information asymmetry. They know how wealth is really built while teaching their audience a different, slower path. Act 10. The real lessons. So what can we learn from this paradox? First, the fastest way to build wealth isn't through traditional financial advice. It's through entrepreneurship and business ownership. Every single financial guru we've examined built their wealth by creating and scaling businesses, not by following their own saving and investing advice. Second, there's enormous value in being the person who teaches rather than the person who learns. As Ramsey notes, there's a limit to how much you can cut, but no limit to how much you can earn. The gurus figured out how to earn unlimited amounts by packaging and selling their knowledge. Third, timing matters enormously. Dave Ramsey built his real estate fortune during a boom and lost it during a bust. But he rebuilt his wealth during the rise of talk radio and self-help culture. Suze Orman's career took off during the rise of financial media and women's empowerment movements. Fourth, personal branding and media skills are more valuable than financial expertise. None of these gurus are certified financial planners or have advanced finance degrees, yet they're more influential than most financial professionals. They succeeded because they could communicate complex ideas simply and build emotional connections with their audience. Act 11. The future of financial advice. The financial advice industry is evolving rapidly. Social media has democratized access to audiences, making it easier for new voices to emerge, but it's also created more noise and potential misinformation. The next generation of financial influencers is more transparent about their income sources and business models. Technology is also changing the game. Robo-advisors, fintech apps, and AI-powered financial planning tools are making professional quality advice more accessible and affordable. This could reduce the demand for guru-style advice, or it could create new opportunities for personalities to humanize and explain these technologies. Conclusion: the ultimate irony. As we reach the end of our journey through the world of financial gurus, the ultimate irony becomes clear. The best financial advice might be to do what they did, not what they say to do. Build a business, create value for others, develop skills that generate unlimited income. Use media and personal branding to amplify your message. These are real wealth-building strategies that work in our modern economy. Ramsey's principle that getting started is more important than becoming an expert applies here. The financial gurus got started building their businesses, while their audiences stayed focused on optimizing investment portfolios and cutting expenses. Does this mean traditional financial advice is worthless? Not at all. Budgeting, saving, and investing are important financial foundations, but they're foundations, not skyscrapers. If you want to build real wealth, you need to think like an entrepreneur, not just an investor. The financial gurus understood something most people miss. In our information economy, knowledge and the ability to share it effectively are the most valuable assets. They didn't get rich by being right about money. They got rich by being persuasive about money. So the next time a financial guru tells you to cut back on your coffee, remember, they probably bought their mansion with money earned from selling that advice, not from following it. The real question isn't whether you should skip the latte, it's whether you should start teaching others to skip theirs. Because in the end, the house always wins. And in the game of financial advice, the gurus are the house.